everyone. Ready to travel the world, but feeling a little overwhelmed by, the whole budget thing?
Yeah, it can be a bit daunting.
Totally. But don't worry, because in this deep dive, we're going to break down the real costs of world travel and hopefully help you make those travel dreams a reality.
Absolutely.
Whether you're picturing yourself, backpacking on a shoestring or maybe living it up in luxury, we've got you covered.
It's all about options.
Right. So we found this super interesting podcast episode, All about the costs of traveling the globe. And, well, we're basically using that as our guide today.
It's full of great information.
Oh, for sure. So think of this deep dive as your personal budgeting guide to, conquering the world.
That's a great way to put it.
All right, so let's jump right in. First up, those wonderful, magical things that'll whisk you away to far-off lands. Flights.
Flights.
They can also be a major budget buster, so let's figure out how to navigate those costs like a pro. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. So I think the cost of flights is probably one of the biggest things holding people back, right?
I'd say so, yeah.
But the thing is, round-the-world tickets can actually be surprisingly affordable.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they can range anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000.
Wow. Okay, so you could potentially circle the globe for, the price of a used car.
Exactly.
Okay, but that's still quite a big range. What accounts for that difference?
Well, a lot of it boils down to flexibility and how much you plan ahead. Your travel dates, how many stops you want to make, stuff like that. All of that can have a huge impact on the price.
Makes sense.
Being flexible with your dates, especially, can often save you a ton of money, like flying during the shoulder season, for example. Those months just before or after the peak season.
Mm.
You can often find much cheaper fares then.
Oh, that's a good tip.
And if you're open to maybe exploring different routes or connecting flights, you might be surprised at the deals you can find.
Okay, so being flexible is key. What if you already have specific destinations in mind, though?
Well, then get ready for some insider tips. Have you ever heard of airline alliances, like Star Alliance or One World?
Vaguely. Remind me what those are again.
Basically, think of them as teams of airlines that work together,
Yep.
to provide this global network of flights.
Okay.
And these alliances offer special round-the-world tickets that allow you to book flights on multiple airlines. All within the alliance, though, but it's all on one ticket.
Ah, I see.
Which can be a fantastic way to see a bunch of different places while, still sticking to a budget.
Right.
And here's the best part. These alliance tickets often come with, perks. Things like lounge access and baggage allowances, to make your trip even smoother.
Okay.
And sometimes you can find amazing deals on really unique routes that wouldn't even be available if you booked individual flights.
Wow, so it's way more than just saving money, huh?
Exactly.
It's like joining an alliance is like having a secret travel society on your side.
Yeah, kind of.
I'm sold. So what about frequent flyer miles? I feel like that's a whole other topic.
Definitely. But if you're a frequent flyer, especially, you can really maximize your travel rewards, by focusing on one specific alliance and just racking up the miles within their program.
Okay, yeah. Frequent flyer programs are it's like this whole secret code to unlock free travel, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Mastering the art of what they call travel hacking, using points and miles to get free or cheaper flights, that can be a total game changer, especially for those long-term trips.
I'd heard of that.
Did you know that some credit card sign-up bonuses will actually give you enough miles for a round-trip international flight?
Wait, seriously?
For real.
You're telling me I could fly to, Bali for just the price of a credit card annual fee?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, my mind is blown. I
Yeah.
think we need to do a whole episode on travel hacking, seriously.
Definitely should. But for now, let's move on to another big expense. Accommodation.
Okay, accommodation. So from, cozy hostels to those swanky resorts, the place we rest our weary heads can also make or break our budget, right?
Definitely. You've got so many options when it comes to accommodation, and each one comes with a different price tag. You're choosing your level of comfort and privacy.
Right, right.
You've got your budget-friendly options, of course, like hostels and guest houses. They're perfect for those who want to save money, A&D, meet new people.
Social butterflies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you have the mid-range choices, like those cute boutique hotels or, charming bed and breakfasts. They offer a little bit more comfort and privacy.
Okay.
And then, of course, for those who want to really treat themselves, there are luxury hotels and resorts.
Yeah.
With all the bells and whistles you can imagine. But the thing is, you don't have to choose just one category for your whole trip.
Oh, tell me more.
Imagine this. You start your adventure in, like a super vibrant hostel, soaking up that social atmosphere,
Mm.
meeting other travelers.
I love that.
Then, maybe after a few days, you treat yourself to a couple nights in a boutique hotel, just for a little extra pampering.
Okay, I'm already picturing myself by the rooftop pool. This is the kind of strategic travel budgeting I love.
Right.
And speaking of strategic budgeting, what about those house sitting and home exchange things? Are those as awesome as they sound?
They can be incredible. Imagine staying in a local's home, often in these amazing locations, and for free.
Wow, for real?
Yeah. There are websites like Trusted House Sitters and Home Exchange. They connect homeowners who are away with travelers who are, looking for a cool and affordable place to stay.
So it's a win-win for everyone.
Exactly. Free accommodation for the traveler and peace of mind for the homeowner.
I actually have a friend who house sat this gorgeous villa in Tuscany for like a whole month through one of those sites.
No way.
Totally. And they just raved about it, swimming in the private pool, exploring the vineyards, and just living like a local.
It's such a cool way to travel, isn't it? Really immerse yourself in the culture.
And save a ton of money on accommodation, which means more money for, delicious food and exciting activities.
Speaking of,
Yeah, now that we've got a place to sleep, let's talk about how to keep those bellies happy and make the most of our time. Food and adventure time.
that's what it's all about, right? Food and adventure. That's the heart and soul of travel.
Right,
All right.
totally. But just like with any adventure, a little bit of planning goes a long way, especially when it comes to like budgeting for those everyday expenses.
Absolutely.
So let's break it all down. First up,
One of the best parts.
I know, right? Who doesn't love like trying new foods and all those culinary delights when they travel?
It's such a big part of experiencing a new culture. And it can be, surprisingly affordable or super expensive. It really depends on where you are in the world and what kind of food you like.
Yeah, the podcast we're looking at today actually highlighted some of those crazy differences in food costs around the world. Like, for example, in Southeast Asia, you can get amazing street food for like $1 or $2.
Oh, yeah. Southeast Asia is a dream for budget travelers. The street food is delicious and so cheap. You can try so many different things without spending a lot of money.
And it's not just about saving money, right? It's about immersing yourself in the local culture, getting those authentic flavors.
Exactly. Some of my most memorable travel meals have been from those little street food stalls.
Hmm.
The ones that look totally unassuming, but then they make the most incredible dishes.
Yeah, those are the best. Okay, so we know street food is a must-try for budget travelers. But what about those places where eating out can cost a fortune? Like the podcast mentioned Western Europe as being pretty pricey.
Yeah, in those places, you could easily spend like $20 to $50 per person for a meal at a restaurant. But even in those more expensive countries, there are ways to save money on food, without missing out on the culinary experience.
Ooh, give us the tips. How do we do that?
One good strategy is to balance those restaurant meals with cheaper options, like cooking some of your own meals.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
A lot of cities have amazing markets where you can find fresh produce and local specialties and, ready-to-eat meals too.
I love browsing those markets. It's like a treasure hunt for yummy things.
Right. And if you're staying somewhere with a kitchen, cooking some of your own meals can really help your budget.
For sure. Plus, it can be fun to like experiment with local ingredients and try new recipes.
Totally. Imagine yourself like whipping up a pasta dish in Italy
Yeah.
or trying out new spices in Morocco.
Okay, now I'm getting hungry. Okay, so we've talked about food, but what about all the amazing activities that make travel so special? The things that get your adrenaline pumping, the stuff you'll remember forever.
Yes. The activities are where you really get to experience a place. And they can range from free or low cost to those like bucket list splurges that are totally worth every penny.
I love those splurges.
Like imagine scuba diving in the Great Barrier Reef or taking a hot air balloon ride in Turkey.
Oh my gosh.
Those are the experiences that create memories for a lifetime.
Right. Absolutely. But yeah, they can definitely cost a bit more.
Right. So it's all about finding that balance. Maybe you splurge on one big activity and then do more budget-friendly things for the rest of the trip.
I like that idea. So how much should we be budgeting for activities then?
Well, it depends on your travel style and what you want to do. Some people might be happy with $200 a month, while others might need like $500 or more.
That's a pretty big range.
It is. It really comes down to what's important to you. Like, personally, I'd rather spend my money on a cool food tour or a cooking class than, say, a fancy cocktail at a rooftop bar.
Me too. I'd much rather experience the local culture than sip a $20 drink.
Right. It's all about making choices that align with what you love.
Okay, so we've got food and activities covered. What about getting around? How do we figure out the cost of transportation when we're exploring a new place?
Yeah, transportation is definitely something to think about. And again, it can be really different depending on where you are and how you like to travel. Some cities have amazing public transportation that's super affordable and efficient.
Public transport is the best. It's a great way to experience a city like a local. Plus, it's usually way cheaper than taking taxis or using ride-sharing apps.
Right. The podcast actually suggested budgeting around $50 to $200 per month for local transportation. Does that seem about right to you?
Yeah, I think that's a good starting point.
It really depends on the city, though. Like some places have amazing train systems, while others rely more on buses. And sometimes renting a car or a scooter might be the best option.
True. So research is key, as always. Okay, I think we've covered all the major expenses. Flights, accommodation, food, activities, and local transportation. We are becoming such savvy budget travelers.
We are.
But before we get too excited, let's not forget about those pesky hidden costs that can sneak up on us. Even the most experienced traveler can get caught off guard sometimes.
Yeah, those hidden costs can be tricky. But don't worry, we're about to reveal all their secrets. Get ready for some travel budgeting gotchas. It's like those hidden levels in a video game. You don't always see them coming, but they can really mess with your final score.
Okay, so what kind of hidden costs are we talking about? Spill the tea.
Well, one that often gets overlooked is travel insurance.
Oh yeah, travel insurance. It's kind of like you hope you never have to use it, but you absolutely need it just in case, right?
Exactly. Travel insurance is there to protect you from all those unexpected things, medical emergencies, trip cancellations, lost luggage, even those annoying flight delays that can totally throw off your plans.
It's a lifesaver for sure. So how much should we be budgeting for that peace of mind?
It really depends on a few things. Your age, how long your trip is, where you're going, what kind of coverage you want.
Okay, so many factors.
Yeah, but typically it's somewhere between like $1,400 per month.
That's not too bad, actually.
Not at all. And it's worth taking the time to shop around and compare different plans. Make sure you're getting the coverage you need.
Right, because not all travel insurance is created equal, right?
Exactly. Some plans have better medical coverage.
Yeah.
Like if you're going off the beaten track or doing adventurous activities, that's really
I
important.
never thought about that.
Others might focus more on like trip cancellation or lost baggage protection, which is super helpful if something happens and you need to change your plans. And then some even cover specific things like scuba diving or skiing. So it's all about figuring out what makes sense for your trip.
Okay, travel insurance, definitely a must-have. What other hidden costs should we be aware of?
Another one that often surprises people is visa fees.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, visas, those little stamps of approval that let you into a country.
yeah. And the requirements and fees can be totally different depending on where you're from and where you're going.
Right, right.
Some countries are like, come on in, no visa needed, while others want you to apply beforehand and pay a fee, which, can be anything from a few bucks to over $100.
Ouch, that adds up. Any tips for navigating the visa world?
Definitely research early, like way before your trip. You don't want any last-minute surprises at the border.
True. Getting denied entry because you don't have the right visa would be a total bummer. Okay, so we've got travel insurance, visas, anything else we should be prepared for.
Well, no matter how much you plan, you can't predict everything, right?
That's the truth.
There's always a chance something unexpected will happen. A flight delay, lost luggage, you get sick, who knows? So it's a good idea to have some emergency money set aside, just in case.
Totally agree. I always like to have a financial safety net, especially when I'm traveling. But how much should we realistically be saving for those just-in-case moments?
I'd say aim for at least like $500 to $1,000. That should be enough to cover things like unexpected medical bills, replacing stuff that gets lost or stolen, or finding a new place to stay if your flight gets canceled.
It's like having a financial superhero cape, ready to save the day if anything goes wrong.
Exactly. It gives you that peace of mind knowing you can handle those unexpected bumps in the road.
Okay, so we've covered all those sneaky hidden costs. And honestly, I feel so much more prepared to handle anything now. But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to zoom out a bit. We've talked about all these different expenses, flights, accommodation, daily costs, and those hidden ones too. But how does it all fit together? Like, realistically, what can someone expect to spend each month to actually make this world travel dream a reality?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
It is.
So let's break it down into different budget levels, just like the podcast did. That way, our listeners can get an idea of what's possible.
Okay, sounds good.
Keep in mind, though, these are just examples. The actual cost is going to vary a lot depending on, your travel style, where you're going, your spending habits.
Right, of course.
So think of this as more of a starting point, like a choose-your-own-adventure guide to travel budgeting.
I love that. Okay, so let's start with our budget travelers. The backpackers who are all about hostels, street food, and free activities. What kind of monthly budget are we looking at for them?
For those folks, I'd say somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 a month is a good starting point.
Wow, that's doable.
Right. That gives you enough for basic accommodations, yummy local food, getting around, and maybe even a few paid activities here and there.
So you're saying I could travel the world for a whole year for, like, the price of a designer handbag?
Exactly. It's all about priorities, right?
Totally. What about those who want a little more comfort, though?
For those who prefer a bit more of a mid-range experience, I'd say $2,000 to $3,000 per month is a good sweet spot.
Okay, what does that look like?
That's enough for a mix of, budget and mid-range place to stay. You can eat out at restaurants sometimes, and you'll have more flexibility to do more activities and experiences.
Okay, that makes sense. And then what about those who want to go all out, like the luxury travelers?
For the luxury travelers, I'd say a budget of $4,000 or more per month. That'll give them comfortable hotels, fancy dinners, and all those incredible once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
All right, so we've got budget options, mid-range options, and luxury options. Something for everyone. But again, these are just examples.
Right, definitely.
Yeah.
The best part about travel is you can really tailor it to your budget and style. It's about doing your research, knowing your priorities, and making choices that align with your travel vision.
I love that. Wow, we covered so much today. I feel like we've truly unlocked the secrets of travel budgeting.
Me too.
Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap things up?
Don't let the fear of cost hold you back from seeing the world. With a bit of planning and some creativity, anyone can make their travel dreams come true.
So true. And with all the knowledge from this deep dive, everyone listening is well on their way to becoming a travel budgeting pro. Remember, it's not about being rich, it's about being resourceful.
And remember, the most valuable things you bring back from your travels aren't souvenirs. They're the memories, the experiences, the connections you make.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
All right, fellow adventurers, it's time to put all this knowledge to good use. Start planning, start dreaming, and most importantly, start packing. The world is waiting.
Happy travels.